Imagine standing on a hilltop as the sun begins to lower over Tuscany, and the entire city of Florence unfolds before you in one sweeping, breathtaking arc. The rust-red dome of the cathedral rising against a darkening sky, the ancient bridges spanning the silver ribbon of the Arno, the towers and palaces of a city that once changed the world, all of it laid out at your feet, like a living painting you can step into. This is the view from Piazzale Michelangelo, Florence's legendary terrace on the hill, and it is one of the most unforgettable sights in all of Italy. But there is far more to this place than the view alone. Welcome to Walking Tour of Italy, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a new adventure somewhere in Italy with every episode. Each week we'll travel to a different destination, from ancient ruins and stunning gardens to fascinating cities, historic landmarks, and hidden gems tucked away across this incredible country. If you're gearing up for your own trip, head over to northstartravelers.com, where you'll find gear recommendations to help you travel smarter, plus a full list of our other podcast shows covering destinations around the world. If you love discovering new places and planning your next adventure, follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leaving a positive review goes a long way in helping others find it. Now let's explore Italy. You are standing at the bottom of the hill at the edge of the San Niccolo neighborhood in the shadow of a tall medieval tower rising from the old city wall. This is the Torre di San Niccolo, the Tower of San Niccolo, a massive square fortification built in 1324 by the architect Arnolfo di Cambio. Once it marked a major gate into the city, today it stands as one of the best preserved remnants of Florence's medieval defenses. Look up at it for a moment. This structure was already 500 years old when the square you are climbing toward was built. Florence has a way of doing that, layering centuries on top of each other until history becomes impossible to separate from the present. From here, the path to the top begins. You have two options. You can take the broad, sweeping ramps designed in the 19th century by the architect who created the entire hillside, more on him in a moment, or you can take the steeper stone steps that cut more directly up the slope. Either way, take your time. The climb rewards the unhurried. As you begin to ascend the ramps, notice how the path winds through a canopy of trees, poplars and holm oaks that line the route like a procession of old sentinels. On one of the smaller streets leading up the hill, you are walking close to where Galileo Galilei once lived. The astronomer who challenged the heavens and was condemned for it made his home in this neighborhood during his years in Florence. It's a quietly remarkable thing to walk in the footsteps of a man who looked at the sky and changed everything. The climb takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And then, almost without warning, the trees part and you step into the wide, open air of the square. Take a breath. Let the view arrive slowly. Stretching out before you in what feels like a single, impossible panorama is all of Florence. The great dome of the cathedral, that extraordinary feat of engineering built by Filippo Brunelleschi in the 15th century, rises high above everything else, its terracotta tiles glowing warm and familiar. To its right, the slender tower of the Palazzo Vecchio, the medieval seat of Florentine power, punches straight into the sky. Further along the skyline, you can find the facade of the Basilica of Santa Croce, where Michelangelo himself is buried. Below all of it, the Arno cuts a quiet, gleaming path through the heart of the city, spanned by bridges, including the Ponte Vecchio, the ancient jeweler's bridge, its familiar outline unmistakable even from this height. And beyond the city, the Tuscan hills roll softly toward the horizon in every direction, the villages of Fiesole and Settignano visible among the green ridgelines. This is the view that has made artists weep and travelers stand in silence. Now step back from the railing and look at the square itself. The space you are standing in was created in 1869, designed by a Florentine architect named Giuseppe Poggi. The story of why it exists is bound up in one of the most dramatic moments in modern Italian history. In the 1860s, Florence was briefly made the capital of a newly unified Italy. The whole nation was being stitched together for the first time in centuries, and Florence was chosen as the seat of this new government. The city responded with an enormous wave of renewal. Old walls were demolished, new boulevards were laid. The left bank of the Arno, the Oltrarno side where you are now, was redesigned from the ground up. Poggi was the man at the center of it all. He conceived an 8-kilometer scenic road, the Viale dei Colli, winding through the hills south of the city. He preserved the old medieval gates and towers along the route, turning them into focal points of new public squares. And at the very top, overlooking everything, he created this terrace, a gift to the city and to anyone who would ever climb the hill. The square was named for Michelangelo, not the man who stood here because he never did, but the artist who defined what Florence meant to the world. Poggi's original vision was grander still. He designed the neoclassical loggia, the long arched building you see lining the back of the square, with the intention of filling it with a great museum of Michelangelo's work, a monument to end all monuments. But the museum was never built. Today, the loggia houses a restaurant and cafe instead, which, if you are tired from the climb, is not necessarily a disappointment. On the outer wall of the loggia, carved in capital letters, you can still find the inscription that was added in 1911, honoring Poggi's contribution to the city. It reads, roughly translated, Giuseppe Poggi, Florentine architect, turn around. Here's his monument. Turn around, of course, means the view itself. The whole hillside is his monument. Now walk toward the center of the square where the bronze figure rises from its pedestal. This is a copy of Michelangelo's David, cast in bronze rather than carved in white marble, but unmistakable in its posture and presence. The young shepherd stands with his sling over his shoulder, looking out over the city with that expression of cool, concentrated intensity that the original captures so perfectly. In 1873, 4 years after the square opened, this statue was brought up the hill with the help of 9 pairs of oxen, a slow, extraordinary procession that must have drawn the entire city to its windows and rooftops. Around the David stand 4 additional bronze figures, allegories taken from the Medici Chapel of San Lorenzo, where Michelangelo's originals still rest, dawn, dusk, day, and night. Together, they form a kind of open-air tribute to the artist's genius, freely accessible to anyone who makes the climb. Spend some time here, walk around the statue, look at the city from every angle of the square. The view shifts slightly as you move, revealing different relationships between the landmarks below. The angle from the far left end of the terrace is particularly good for taking in the curve of the Arno and the cluster of rooftops around Santa Croce. One practical thought, if you want the square to yourself, or at least something close to it, come early in the morning. The first light of day, when the city below is still quiet and the air holds a little cool, is when this place is at its most peaceful. Sunset brings crowds and often a busker or two, which depending on your temperament is either charming or a distraction. Both experiences are valid, the view accommodates them all. Just below the square, tucked along the hillside between here and the old city walls, is one of Florence's most overlooked pleasures. The Rose Garden, the Giardino della Rose, is a free terraced park designed by the same Giuseppe Poggi who created the Piazzale, and it offers another extraordinary view of the city without the noise and crowd of the square above. It holds around 400 varieties of roses, along with lemon trees and a scattering of sculptures by the Belgian artist Jean-Michel Folon. In May and June, when the roses are in full bloom, the air on the hillside is heavy with fragrance and the terraces erupt in color. Even outside of bloom season, the garden is a lovely place to sit quietly and look out at the skyline. It is the kind of spot that rewards the visitor who pauses. Back on the square, make your way to the railing at the edge of the terrace one final time. Look out at the city below. Think about what it took to build what you are seeing, the centuries of labor and faith and political struggle and artistic ambition. Every dome and tower and bridge represents not just an architectural achievement, but a human one. The accumulated effort of people who believed that beauty was worth making permanent. Michelangelo himself, who lived in this city and was shaped by it, once said that the true work of art already exists inside the marble. You only have to remove what doesn't belong. Florence is something like that. All of this beauty was always here, in the hills and the river and the stone. The artists and architects and dreamers just kept removing what didn't belong until what remained was this. Take it in. You have earned the view. When you come back down the hill into the San Niccolo neighborhood, a short walk along the main street brings you to the Osteria Antica Mescita San Niccolo, a beloved local restaurant that has been serving traditional Tuscan food on this street since the 1970s. It is housed partly in a medieval crypt from the year 1000, and the ribollita, the bistecca alla fiorentina, and the house wines are all as honest and straightforward as the place itself. For something a bit more relaxed, La Beppa Fioraia is tucked beyond the old city arches down a narrow lane, a charming garden restaurant known for its generous sharing platters of cheeses, meats, and Tuscan antipasti, along with a hearty wild boar pappardelle. The wine bar Fuori Porta on the small street just below the city walls has been a neighborhood institution since 1987 and is one of the best places in the city to drink a serious glass of wine alongside a plate of cured meats and bruschetta. The Basilica of San Miniato al Monte is a short walk uphill from the square and should not be missed. This 11th century Romanesque church is one of the finest in all of Tuscany, with a stunning marble facade and an interior that feels entirely untouched by the centuries. The Giardino della Rose is just below the square along the hillside, a free terraced rose garden with panoramic views and over 400 varieties of roses in bloom each spring. The Bardini Garden is a lesser-known but remarkable terraced garden nearby, offering extraordinary views of the city from its upper belvedere and hosting a permanent collection of works by the painter Pietro Annigoni. The Bardini Museum down near the Arno contains a fascinating collection of ceramics, Greek and Roman artifacts, and works by Donatello, housed in an elegant palazzo that belonged to the antiquarian Stefano Bardini. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Before you go, a few quick things. Subscribe so you never miss a destination, leave us a positive review to help others find the show, and share this episode with someone who loves exploring Italy. And if you're hungry for more adventures beyond Italy, visit northstartravelers.com to explore our other podcast shows and browse gear recommendations for wherever your next journey takes you. Your support means the world and keeps these adventures coming. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next walk.